So, like I said, like I promised, we're going to talk about international connectivity with hip hop, and no one better. Well, few, but no one better. I'll say that. No one better. My man Farbeon,
Oh,
Yo, yo.
Fabian Farbeon Saucedo. What's up, brother?
Man, I'm good. How am I coming in on that side? You hear me
Oh,
clearly?
you sound pretty good, baby. You sound
Hey,
pretty.
that's what I'm
sound
talking
good, sound
about.
good.
Wow, this guy's like, hey, I'm Teddy Pendergrass over here.
I
Yeah.
love it, man.
Yeah,
Yo,
yeah.
Manny, I've been watching this entire episode. I caught the replay of the last one, man. Thank you for holding this space
Mm.
to uh I guess sing hip hop's praises. There's
Right.
there's always a lot of detractors, and I'm definitely been in this game long enough to have been one of those detractors because you want to hold the culture accountable. But
Mm.
you know, those are like conversations hip hop 1.0 and 2.0, right? Like I'm on like 3.0 and 4.0,
I
right? Which is
appreciate that.
like which is what you loud. So just
Yeah.
I appreciate it, man.
I appreciate the appreciation. And yeah, I think that's what it is. It's not that we can't have these conversations, but I think we need to expand upon them. And I wouldn't have been doing that myself. This whole thing wouldn't exist if it not for meeting people like you who are doing these incredible things that I didn't know exist. So I don't hold them accountable. I said, listen, people don't know that we're out here doing this work and that these amazing things are happening. And I've taken it upon myself to try and spread that gospel because y'all are busy doing the work. You can't, then always advertise yourself. So it's my honor and privilege to have you on here. I'm just getting my feet wet with the new iteration of the show going live and then taking things and flipping it and smacking it and rubbing it down. But I didn't want to start with lightweights. I wanted to start with, heavy hitters that are doing big work. So I appreciate you taking this time in this season. I know you're running around. So that being said, I mentioned, I gave a little hint that you work with some international affiliations and organizations. You do some work internationally, bridging cultural and artistic gaps. Please, sir, if you would just introduce yourself to the audiences in the way that you wish to be presented to the world.
I appreciate it, man. I always say I'm an artist, educator, and agent of change. And my community is a global community. It's a web network community. Web network being these different nodes that are all connected. I started touring by booking tours on MySpace, right? And connecting with the Farbeons and the Rabbi Darksides, or the formerly known Rabbi Darksides, the Sam Sellers and McCalls, who were in the Czech Republic, who were in Berlin, and they were doing educational work too, right? So it's not even that, we had to often there's this people feel it's like this one direction thing, but not like the boy band, but in terms of how the culture goes, the reality is the culture has been, the real shit is on the global tip a lot of the times, because often there's more space for community social oriented projects. There's more funding even for that type of work in other parts of the world.
Good point.
So long story short, my community is global. I was on tour in 2000. I finished up a tour with J Live actually in 2009 with Sam and the hired gun, Macau.
Yep, New York brethren, New York area brethren. J Live was a Philly cat, and I think he's down in Atlanta now, around by me. I just caught wind of that. I'm not sure if he's there or whatever, but yeah, go ahead.
So we're finishing up this tour, and I met a social worker in Berlin that was about to bring a group of New York Berliners to New York who loved hip hop. And his entire thing was they would watch the hip hop on the TV and listen to it on the radio, and for them it was like hoop dreams, right? It's like kids in the inner city growing up thinking, "Oh, my pathway is basketball, right?" Or, "Well, my pathway is rap," but it was they were unaware of what the reality was in New York City. He's like, I'm gonna bring them to New York and show them what the Bronx is really like, right? It's almost like Scared Straight, son.
Right.
So they came, and when he was coming, I was like, yo, man, let me help you out. I will book workshops, I'll book a gig, I can get you into Scratch Academy. I just pulled all my resources together to kind of do as much as they can. Year later, we had funding for me to take a group of 10 young artists from New York to Berlin. And so that was kind of like the start of my international educational work.
Right.
which has snowballed into me being able to do, State Department funded, U.S. Embassy funded work, which has its own challenges. And, you know, there's a lot we can talk about on that front,
Right.
particularly even in today's day and age, like doing this work funded by the U.S. State Department is.
That's interesting. We've had Mark Katz on here to talk about the Great Next Level program, which I think you've been a part of as well. Yeah. And the dichotomy thing that
well, I when I first started doing the work, I had to go back and study, right? The great jazz masters, is because this all stems from the jazz ambassadors, right? So it's like to look at cats like Dizzy Gillespie and Duke Ellington,
Louis Armstrong,
going across the world in the 50s and 60s, right? Representing the U.S. government. And ultimately, they're not representing the U.S. government or U.S. foreign policy. They're representing themselves,
right,
as Americans, and with an American perspective, and with a great talent, and that creates that person-to-person diplomacy, right? Which it can just like really create the mutual understanding. But luckily, along the way, I made contacts with American Voices. American Voices oversees American Music Abroad. Mm-hmm. They oversee Arts Envoy, which are pretty hefty State Department funded programs on the federal level. American Music Abroad sending American bands of different genres across the world to places where they may not have as much contact with Americans, and particularly with American craft and culture.
Yeah.
So I was a judge for one cycle, and I told now my homie, my colleague John Ferguson, I was like, yo man, I got a passport, I got a rhyme book, give me a mic, and like I'm ready. And he laughed. He said, you just never know. I may call next year saying there's a ticket to Saudi Arabia with your name on it. And I was like, well, I'm ready.
Right.
And within the year, I was booked to do my first Yes Academy in Thailand, in Bangkok, Thailand.
Not to cut you off,
go ahead.
Because, so I want folks who are not necessarily familiar with these programs to say, okay, wait a minute. What does this look like? You're taking kids from the Bronx and put them on a plane, like a field trip, you know what I mean? Like a high school, senior trip. And you're going to Berlin, and then like what's happening there? What have you set up, or what has the organization set up? What does Yes America have set up?
So
what does it look like?
So let me do it's twofold. The BronxBerlinConnection is something that my organization, the Hip-Hop Re-Education Project, is a lead partner here on the New York end.
Right.
That project in particular is about creating cross-cultural relationships, partnerships, when you realize not only you're not alone, but that someone in the other part of the world has the same concerns, issues, desires, dreams as you do, then you realize, I'm really not alone, right? And we do it through the craft. We do it through hip hop, man. We do it through songwriting, through dance. So the BronxBerlinConnection in particular, like we just in October took 9 young artists to Berlin, and while we were there, they wrote and recorded 20 plus songs together, right? Like, dude, it was wild. And then this past week, 18 Germans came to New York, and they weren't here, and they rocked at the school that we're running music production classes at. They rocked at Fordham University with Dr. Mark Nason. We just had our culminating show at La Mama last night. So that program in particular is about, I always say, whether they make another song or not, I don't care, but they'll develop the confidence, they'll develop kind of like the ingenuity that hip hop brings to an individual. They'll develop the self-actualization so that they can apply it to whatever their passion is.
Right. As we always say, like hip hop teaches you a lot of life skills. You don't have to be, I always say every wannabe, rap star that, didn't make it, but is a better public speaker, is a better communicator.
Yeah.
So these things,
So that's the BronxBerlinConnection. American Voices and the Yes Academy in particular. So American Voices oversees the State Department grants, but John Ferguson, when he started the Association for American Voices, envisioned using the craft to help develop sustainable strategies for artists in other countries to be able to become artists, working artists.
Okay.
Right. So, you know, I would say Bronx Berlin Connection, definitely on the German side, is more a social work project.
Okay.
Yes, Academy, we don't claim to say it's a social work project, right? But, you know, we're about to do one in Liberia. I'll tell you more about that. But, you know, when you think about Liberian buying power is 5 million people in the country. There's no infrastructure, let alone a music industry infrastructure. So a lot of these artists are like, how do we make it? I don't claim to go in there and say I know how to make it, because Lord knows I haven't made it.
Right.
But we are the impetus to bring together 40, 30, in this case, 36 like young professional, pre-professional working artists in Liberia, for us to get together for 10 days to upskill in the areas of songwriting, music production, engineering, to upskill in the areas of business, branding, cultural entrepreneurship.
Right.
And this program in particular, I had the extreme honor and pleasure of doing an American Music Abroad virtual residency with artists in Monrovia last year, and then went to Monrovia in December to release a 5-song EP that we developed together. So I've been working on bringing this project together. The goal for this project will be for us to create radio ready music that speaks to like the unity of the Liberian people. Like, Manny, I don't know if I'm going to go and the program start. I'm supposed to leave on Monday. And the reason I don't know if I'm going to go yet is because they just had a runoff election on Tuesday. And they were waiting to see how the situation was going to play out. Right. Like, it's like
these situations can be tenuous. These sometimes, as we talked about next level, and these are sometimes conflict regions. There's things going on in these areas.
It's not easy, but the payoff is huge. So, you know, for Yes Academy's sake, I would say it is pre-professional. You know, right now we're going over our final list of 36 artists, and there's definitely like 2 or 3 MCs that I say they aren't up to par with some of the other artists, but I'm like, yo, I'm a good rap teacher, right? I'm like, come into my class and they will level up. And in the end, I think the goal really is like when we leave that they're connected. Like, because everyone's kind of working in their own individual lanes. They may not really know each other. Whereas like after this 10-day experience, they're going to have anywhere from 4 to 8 songs written, recorded, ready to release on the radio, right? Together. But also when we leave, it's like they now have new musical collaborators that they can build with.
Give me, that's I was gonna say, like, what is one of the, you know, larger benefits? Obviously creating music, creating content, you know, it's such a negative connotation these days, but you're creating things, and being creative is good. And if you're in this business, or if you want to be in this business, you want to learn some things. And I know that you're not the type to go and say, this is how you do hip hop Liberia, this is how you do hip hop, you know, Berlin. It's more like, okay, let's work together, let's cross these cultural, you know,
it's all about, you know, Rabbi and I talk about it a lot, Sam. But it's about the pedagogy. It's about pedagogy, right?
Okay.
It's about the process of teaching and learning, right? It's about praxis, reflective action, right? So when I go there, I learn way more than I could ever teach.
Right.
But I go in there ready to learn more. And it's also cultural diplomacy. So, you know, it's not even about the songs that we write and that we release. Though for me, I'm like, yo, if we're going to do music, we're going to do it to this level, right?
We're going to drop some bangers. Right. We're not here to play.
But in the end, you know, I'm working, Kayla Milady is going to be one of the teachers. She's coming out to Monrovia with me, and another homie of mine, Chris Hill. He's a phenomenal multi-instrumentalist, one of the best guitarists I know. And we've been meeting kind of like every couple of weeks, and a lot of what, you know, we get caught in the like, well, are we going to have a projector? Are we going to have, like, there's all these things, like, are we going to have this? I'm like, I don't know what we're going to have. I don't know. I know that if we have a classroom and bodies, we're going to do something amazing.
That's it. That's how it goes.
Right.
That's
and I know that ultimately the goal in cultural diplomacy is to create some sense of mutual understanding. Everyone should leave that space enlightened, you know, just more aware of possibility. Like there's so much possibility out there.
What's one of the like the examples of that in like real life? Like, an anecdote, a young person that you worked with that sticks out to you, like, wow, this is why this works? I'm sure you have several.
Yeah, man. There's so many rock stars. I got to shout cats like AQ Flow in Indonesia. I met him in 2015,
Yeah.
and in Bangkok. And this dude is like a amazing producer, DJ, MC, and he's become he calls me his shifu, right?
Okay.
Which is like his teacher, his
Okay. Right.
but really he's my shifu, right? Like
Mm.
when I did the program the second year, we did it in Jakarta in 2016, which is Indonesia. I was like, yo, you're my teaching assistant. Years later, 2020, right before the pandemic hit, he got US Embassy funding to bring together 25, 30 people in his area of Indonesia to do an academy that we've been doing.
Come
right.
on.
So now he's like doing it himself in
Come on.
Indonesia, spreading the culture, spreading the love.
That's
just
wild.
Just like cats who like they're rappers, or let's say like they're beatboxers, and now they work at the radio station and they're an audio engineer, or they're doing live audio. Like they start finding ways to make careers out of it. And it's not, a lot of it is like they see in an artist like myself who's not in the industry in that way, but has created some type of sustainability with the love of hip hop, with creation. They're like, hey, I could do that.
Right. I mean, we say that all the time, even about, people in America, like kids, like you could be a hip hop head. You can get so many jobs working in the studios. You get in the ancillary marketing, and you could be an artist, a teaching artist. Shouts to Silent Night, still lurking in the background, who obviously works with me in journal. We have hip hop artists that are journalists.
Yeah.
Like not just like, oh, hip hop is the CNN of the is of the streets, but actually we have awards. Journalism awards for a podcast with rappers in it that are basically translating the news into a way that's compelling and visceral. And you don't have to be a star to be rapping and having a great life and or touring the world as an independent artist now.
Can I share something? Can you allow me screen privilege?
Absolutely.
So
let's go.
I want to just share, like, I've got two pieces of media. I'm going to show one. If you want to watch a second, it's probably the most proud I am of a piece of artistic work. But I want to share something that I pulled together that include, I'm a photographer too, right? So on these projects, it's my work as a photographer, I feel is as a documentarian, more so than like, I take some dope photos, but in a collection of photos, it's about the story that it tells. So I pulled this together for a panel that I did with Mark Katz, McCallum Lee, and Tony Blackman on cultural diplomacy for the Trinity International Hip Hop Festival. I used my photos, some video, I made the beat, and I wrote the lyrics. And I don't call it a song so much as I call it like a lyrical meditation. I think it's something like it's bliss consciousness, and it's like a meditation on bliss, hip hop, and cultural diplomacy, right? And it's like, just to give you like a preview, because you may not hear the lyrics, it's like bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, pass the mic in the moment of the movement, remain calm, superior. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, we remain interconnected, rock the rhythm, no defenses. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, cross borders, we've transcended as we free all our senses. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, crop circle synergies, we paint on cinder block canvases. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, global linguistic flow, centered truth permeates the universe. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, for the culture and its people, share the love and shine the light. Right. So I'm gonna play that.
Woo, these are mantras.
And I can just sort of like switch over. If you just show me, pin me up. I'll play it for you.
I see it up now. I see a Earth, and now I see your media player. I love when folks it's backwards.
Oh, you know what? I sent you the link. You can pull it up.
Yeah,
in Facebook.
All right, let's see if we can
I wouldn't know how to turn this around.
Yeah, it's like flipped. You know what I mean?
No, I get it. I just because I'm used to the Zoom world, right?
Yeah, I guess so. All right, give us a second, folks. We want
you know what? It's okay that it's backwards.
Okay.
There's not many lyrics. I mean, there's not many words.
Okay.
So yeah.
I don't hear anything though. Am I supposed?
I haven't brought the volume.
Okay. Right on. Let's go. We know that it says Berlin, Germany. We can read backwards. We're good.
We'll fix this. We'll fix this.
Fix it in post.
We'll fix it in post. Cape Town, Iraq.
Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, pass the mic, and the moment of the movement, remain calm superior. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, we remain interconnected. Rock the rhythm, no defenses. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, cross borders, we've transcended it, as we free all our senses. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, crop circle synergies, we paint on cinder block canvases. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, global heuristic flow, center truth permeates the universe. Bliss consciousness, center of the cipher, great expansion, open mind, all in one and all, for the culture and its people, share the love and shine the light.
So that last cipher was in Erbil, Iraq, right? And in those so I always start off with like smaller ciphers, and I was like, when I change the beat, we're gonna change up. And in those ciphers, you had people like rapping in Kurdish, rapping in English, or singing in English and rapping in Arabic. And if you know anything about that region, like language is very political, it's very like charged,
right?
But in that space of the cipher, man, like people are just vibing regardless of what language you're spitting. So like,
I said
like off the bat,
I just said in the chat, like, what other social cultural movement can cross all boundaries and borders more than hip hop? And of course, also in that way, bring people together that might not normally be together. I won't tie this into anything that might hypothetically or not be happening out in the world today, but obviously we see that. Obviously you can't just, all right, Israel Palestine rap battle, let's go. Right? Obviously not. But I think what we're discovering through your work and through others that do this kind of international collaboration, especially conflict regions and learning these lessons, is that there are ways to, there's an ethos, there's a DNA that hip hop has inherent in its nature that we're tapping into. I don't say using, it's a bad word. We're tapping into and sharing with other communities, and you see it working. So somewhere within the culture that we love and the artistic and, and social and cultural bonds that we can form is some of the answers to some of this stuff. Is that
You know, I
profound?
sometimes
Is that
say
too much?
yeah. Well, no, I mean, I, I don't want to say I'm happy that you make it that grandiose and
I know,
big
and I'm very up
because
there. It's hip hop.
sometimes I'm like, I feel like, and this can be considered blasphemous in some circles, you know. I feel like hip hop is an empty form,
Okay.
right? And what I mean by that is you can put whatever you want into it
Yeah.
and make it your own, right? So like it's in its structure, it's in its in the genre, it's in the elements,
Mhm.
you know, like for it to be authentic, you have to bring yourself into it,
Fair.
right?
Yep.
So like that is what that thing is.
Yeah.
So like
Right.
you
Yes,
know,
okay. It's the term black box. You know, it goes in, something happens, and it comes out as this thing, and you know, it's that magic that happens when
yeah,
it's
man.
thrown into a hip hop crucible, right?
I mean, it's in the remix, right?
It's in the remix. Yeah.
right. You know, it allows we are given the opportunity to take something that's been out there and then redo it. And also, like, you know, Russell Potter talks about how, like, when we talk about, like, because, you know, back to those 1.0 conversations, you know,
Right.
hip hop being this, that, and the other. It's like, well, whenever hip hop is reaching that point, it kind of eats itself, right? You know,
Right.
it like remixes itself and it puts out something different and something new.
Right.
I don't think
Right.
it can ever truly be, you know, I'm not saying it hasn't been actually I get in a lot of fights with some cats who will adamantly argue that hip hop there's no good in it, right? Or and these are hip hop loving cats,
100%.
right?
I'm gonna
But
talk
it's like
about it right after we're done.
no, but I'm
Yeah.
like, yo, when you rock Cypher, like I'm just saying ciphers from the Lower East Side. You don't even have to, like, for me, it's like, yeah, the global works great, but like being in a high school on the Lower East Side and watching like these young 16 and 17-year-olds like practice their identities in an artistic way,
Right.
yo, that's truly revolutionary and transformational.
Yeah,
You
yeah,
know?
dope. I'm glad you said that. That's definitely the vibe that I be on sometimes. Again, we can have both of these conversations. We can have all of these conversations. I lost your video. Oh, you're back.
I'm back.
We can have all these conversations. Certainly, you know, and again, I'm gonna talk about this later on. I want to take up your time. But you know, when we hear of the negativity, we hear of the talk of the low vibrations, we hear the talk of the, you know, all the, you know, all the possible negative connotations of what this music and culture, and by extension, those who participate in it, right? Without doing the talk that we're doing, we do all of that a horrible disservice, you know. So tell me what you got coming up. Tell me what's next on your what next stamps on your passport coming.
So
what's popping?
like I said, tomorrow we should get the green light that I will be leaving for Liberia on Monday.
Amazing.
This is what's even more amazing. So I've gone on, you know, easily probably like, you know, 8, 10, 11 of these 8, 9, 10, 11 of these programs.
Yeah.
This time I'm not only a faculty member, I'm a program manager. So it's just going to be me and the other 2 faculty members. So I'm arriving 4 days earlier to make sure that like we have classrooms to like kind of like pay some bills,
right?
You know, put out any fires before the other 2 faculty arrive.
I was gonna say congratulations for your new position, but that always just means more work.
Yeah,
So
it's more work, and it's like it turns
Someone's
your
rate.
It turns your rate into even less.
Right.
But at the same point, I've learned so much like on how to like do this work at a certain level, and I'll have a little notch on my belt when I do try to apply for some other opportunities, right?
Fair enough.
So I'll be there. The program runs from December 3rd to the 12th. We have 36 Liberian artists, singers, beatboxers, musicians, producers, working in 3 different classes. Our goal is to write and record 6 to 7 songs, and we're going to have a final performance on December 12th. Liberia is a phenomenal place. The history is very unique. It was, as a country, was formed by freed slaves who became the ruling class.
Right.
They literally became the oppressors, implementing like plantation economics. Like it's wild stuff.
Yeah.
But we'll be there for 10 days, kind of bringing people together around music. And there's not much TV or internet penetration. So our goal is to really have radio ready stuff. Radio is huge there. Like when I was there in December, we did easily like 4 or 5 radio interviews. And I know you in the podcast world and the radio world understand, like, it's a different space to sit there with it in your ears. So, you know, I'm blessed and excited to make that trek happen. And I don't know when it's going to be other than amazing. And then I look forward to getting back on December 14th, because, you know, I've been in Berlin and we had the Germans here, and now Liberia. It's like when we get back, then I'll be able to rest. And then next semester, I'm back at NYU teaching my hip hop theater class. So that's also something to look forward to. Yeah.
Well, come back and talk to us about Liberia after, we'll give you a little break. Come back in January, maybe. I'll be off and on during December anyway. We're getting our sea legs back, but you're always welcome to come on and tell us about what's going on. Let me ask one final question. You know, well, 2 real quick, 1 and then 2. What do you know, I'm always looking for ways that, like, the average, it's such a terrible way to say it, so I think of better words, but like the average, you know, hip hop lover, the person watching this recording saying, man, I love hip hop. I love where it's going. I love all the ways that it can be used in all these different ways that I never thought of or never heard of. Thank you, Manny. Thank you, Farbeon, for letting us know that these things are happening. In relation to what you all do, and it may be as simple as, hey, some of these, you know, organizations need funding. Can you put a couple dollars in, or can you spread the word? What can people do to say, I love this, but this touches me in a special way, you know, the work you're doing? What can regular folk do to help?
Definitely raise awareness. I mean, we live in a world where, like, it's hard to break through the general hum of everything that's happening. So like, that's the world we live in. So like helping obviously spread the word. I would say also, like, understand that, like, hip hop didn't end in the 90s, you know, or like understand that, like, there's really dope shit out there right now. Like
the real hip hop didn't go away.
That's why I say I use the term true school, right? Like, it's not old school, it's not new school, it's true school, right? When you hear something that's happening, like, you know, you hear,
and it could be a blend of both, like stylistically, the new, like, there could be new school things that are true school. They don't have to, not mutually exclusive.
No, 100%. And then funding, sure, like, you know, I think it's all about platform building too. So, like, you know, if you have an opportunity to hire a DJ for an event, pay them what they're worth, right? You know, or like, if you have you know, if you work at a school and you're a teacher, you know, do the research to engage the young people. And I always say it's bigger than hip hop in that, like, I've worked with teachers in collaborative settings where I'm the teaching artist. And, you know, perhaps the teacher isn't into hip hop, but they're like into folk music. Right. And then we're able to make this connection between my passion of hip hop and their passion of folk. And then the young people start seeing them through a different light. So it's like, you know, just being open to, like, you know, the possibility, and it doesn't take big things, you know, a retweet, you know, a donation, or just changing the way you operate. You know,
I like to say that there are folks out there that work in industries that, you know, like you said, that have events every year, and they hire, you know, speakers, or they hire entertainment, and think outside the box a little bit.
Hire Manny Faces. I mean, come on.
It's very, very possible. You could do that. I do a lot of things. But again, maybe reach out to you and say, hey, listen, how do we, you know, bring this, you know, fascinating work to inspire me? You can be a nonprofit that works with international causes. This is a great way to kind of introduce new ideas. As Dr. Travis said on the last episode when he was on us, and we were talking about teachers and telling teachers, like, and teachers will sometimes be so stuck in the pattern of, okay, so what's the curriculum for the hip hop thing? And we're like, I mean, we could show you some curricula, but it's not about what's the curriculum. It's what's the inspiration for me to develop my own curriculum, for me to take the engagement or the relationships I have with students, or my business, or my nonprofit, or my municipality, or my whatever, and say, how can hip hop improve, bring something new, bring something fresh? Because it's this beautiful thing that obviously is enlightening people throughout the world. Why can't we bring it into every possible space? And I think I can. I think we can.
Amen to that.
Yeah. Very quickly, this show is called Hip Hop Can Save America. Everyone always says, hip hop can also save the world. And I'm like, I know that. This is we're tearing. We have tears here. I'm getting to that. That's the next podcast. Can y'all support this one first by going to patreon.com/Manny Faces, and then when we build this one up, we'll do Hip Hop Can Save the World. I do own the domain. I'm not playing. But tell me why you love the name of this show and why it translates to the world and hip hop can't save the world. Hip hop can save everything. Why do you figure that I haven't lost my mind being so lofty in the naming of this show and the concepts and the ideas that we have?
Culture is a way of being. It's a way of life for a society. Hip hop culture is a remix culture, so it brings so much to the present, right? And it allows anyone to enter. Like, it's multitudinous, right? So hip hop can save America because ultimately what we're doing is reaffirming culture. We're reaffirming like the social institutions. We're reaffirming the identity pieces, but we're doing it through like new and like innovative ways that like literally have. We're talking, we didn't talk about hip hop 50s. I know you have already, but this is older and newer. Right. So I just feel like it can, but it already has. It is, right?
Right. This is
is saving America, right?
So. All right. Well, I think that your work does an exceptional job of bridging that other idea to this idea that obviously we can. What I like to say is that obviously as the country that created hip hop for the most part, I know coalescing, bringing together hundreds of years of diasporic, influences. I get it, but still New York made hip hop. But at the same time, we have a lot to teach the world about, what we did and what we created. And as you know, the world has just as much, if not more, to teach us in return. And what and sometimes our greatest export in many ways should be our greatest import in how it's been remixed and how they do things overseas and how they look at their art, how they're more politically engaged through their art than we tend to be here. Obviously it exists, but it's more part of their identity as artists in a lot of these countries. And we have a lot to learn and with programs like yours, that helps that stay alive. So I appreciate your work very, very much.
Thank you, brother. I appreciate you too. Thank you for having me, man.
Yeah, man.
I'm a talker, so never be ashamed to don't be afraid to reach out.
You and me both. Farb, tell them how to reach you directly so that if they have any questions about any of the initiatives you're working with.
www.farbeon.com. We'll send you to a link tree that gives you all my contact information, my Instagram, Farbeon, Farbeon. Google that.
There it is.
You'll find me. Like
that's it.
There's no other Farbeon.
You understand the assignment, and yeah. All right, my man. Thank you so much. I appreciate you. Please give love to the fam and all the folks that I know that we work together with, and we'll talk again soon.
All right, man. You have a good rest of the show. Peace.
All right, peace and love. There it is. My man Fabian does so many things. What a multi-hyphenate and a multi-international man of mystery that puts out amazing projects, works with amazing organizations, and really adds to that idea that hip-hop can not only save America, but could quite potentially save the world. I love his programs. I love learning about them. I wish I could see them in person more. But as you know, many times he'll have local exhibitions of this in the New York area. So stay tuned. Follow him, Farbeon.com, and check out all the things that he is doing. Once again, this is Hip Hop Can Save America, the live stream show. I can't believe we're doing this. We're pulling this off. This is fantastic.